So the official numbers have been released when it comes down to the salaries of Caitlyn Clark, Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese, Aaliyah Boston, who are probably the players that will command a max out of 2023. Yeah, no one else in 2023. Seegers isn't commanding a max. 2024, Caitlyn Angel. Yeah, that's realistically it. Layla Khan might be in that, but she'd be considered 2025. Layla Khan might be interesting one. I think she might end up commanding a max, but that's yet to be seen. And then obviously Paige Bueckers absolutely in 2025. So what has now happened is because of the quote unquote epic rule, I'm going to call it the Caitlyn rule because let's be real, she was the first person to have reached this. Whether it be it's Caitlyn, Aaliyah, and Paige are all eligible. I'm just going to call it the Caitlyn rule. Just like the Rose rule in the NBA, we're going to call it the Caitlyn rule. So ironically, if Caitlyn goes and wins MVP this year, she's actually eligible for the Supermax in 2027. And this is why people are talking about Kelsey Mitchell and trading Kelsey Mitchell, by the way. It's not that Kelsey Mitchell's bad. Some people just don't think Kelsey Mitchell fits, i.e. a Venom. I disagree with that. I think if Caitlyn, what the reality is that the expectation was, and this is what they had very much implied, that the rookie contracts weren't going to scale up. So what they'd implied was that Caitlyn Clark, Angel, or Aaliyah Boston, so that this season, Caitlyn Clark was going to make 80k and Aaliyah was going to make 90k. That was the way that it was spoken about. And funnily enough, when it comes to scaled contracts, like Caitlyn making 200k more than Angel Reese is kind of wild, because what is now happening with the contract scale in the WNBA is that thankfully the Fever actually, by getting the 10th pick, are doing okay salary wise, because the 9 through 15 are the same salary. It goes, the number 1 pick makes 500k and it goes down and down and down and down and down. 9 through 15 make the same salary, and everyone past the first round makes a rookie minimum. Every single person that is not a first round pick is going to make the rookie minimum, which is pretty okay. So the thing is, you see that's 2028 salary with those. Yeah, they will. I don't know why I said, oh no, they could make a max, but actually they couldn't. And the thing is, there is a scary thing with Wings and Caitlyn. Like, there is a word, like Paige has like a 1% chance of winning MVP. And okay, I'll give Caitlyn like a 20% chance of winning MVP this year. But if Paige goes and wins MVP, see that max, that becomes Supermax in 2028. And it's one of those things where it's a really tough situation to get out of. So Caitlyn being eligible for a max, and I'm thinking with her being eligible for a max, there might be a world where it's either you take the max or you're on your rookie scale. And look, I don't think Caitlyn's going to take a pay cut. I think there's a world where the only time, if you look at any of the biggest players in the world, the only times any of them, like a Duncan took a pay cut in his 30s, in their prime, who has taken big pay cuts? LeBron, Bosh, and Wade took like $1 million a year off. It was like $1 million a year. And that was making 18 instead of 19 million. Like for Caitlyn Clark might have to take $1 million a year and make $500,000 instead of 1.5. I don't see it happening. I don't see Caitlyn Clark taking a 500k a year contract to keep Kelsey Mitchell on the team. I don't see Aaliyah Boston. Like, Aaliyah Boston's not making $2, $3, $4 million a year from that shoe deal. She's not. Like, I think she's making good money, but like, that shoe deal is probably a couple of 100k a year. Like, she's not gonna go and take a 500k pay reduction to keep Kelsey Mitchell on the team. Kelsey Mitchell's definitely not taking a pay cut to stay in Indiana. The only players that could take pay cuts to stay in Indiana, that I can see taking pay cuts to stay in Indiana, are team-friendly deals, are Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall. Tash Howard's not taking a pay cut. Kelsey Mitchell's not taking a pay cut. I think Bree Turner's probably not going to play on the minimum. She's probably not playing on the minimum. So I'm looking at this and I'm just like, what exactly do fans want? It's like, Fever have to make a choice, obviously. It's clear as day here. Fever have to make a choice. Because there is a world where Caitlyn Clark and Leah Boston are on the Supermax in 2027. That's 40% of the cap on 2 players. That's 40% of the cap on 2. Like, to say that Jackie Young and Angel Wilson are probably going to take up 40% of the cap. Probably going to take up 40%. And like, what you can't do is have Jackie Young, Angel Wilson, and Chelsea Gray taking up 53% of the cap or something. You just can't have. You can't have that. Teams can't have 3. You can't have 3, and these players aren't going to be taking pay cuts, especially when the whole point of this is, getting players paid what they're worth. Nobody's getting paid what they're worth at the end of the day. And I don't know why people keep saying that Caitlyn Clark should. I don't know why people keep being like, oh, well, Caitlyn can leave some money on the table, because I don't think Caitlyn's going to take a pay cut. Paige isn't going to take a pay cut. Angel's not going to take a pay cut. These players are going to make their money. They're going to make their money. And at the end of the day, anyone being like, oh, take a pay cut to go and win a championship, there's no guarantee of that either. Like, it's going to be really hard to compete with the Washington Mystics. The Mystics have, because of this new rule, the Caitlyn rule, the Mystics have absolutely blown every team out of the water as far as, like, what the expectations to win soon. Like, if the Fever don't win this year, the Mystics have that better young core. Why? Because the Mystics have the 4th and 9th pick this year. They have Citron, Kiki Iriafen, maybe Shakira Austin, and a Supermax slot. They're not going to be better than the Fever next year. But what they might be able to do is, they might be better than the Fever in 1 to 2 years. And hindsight being 2020, tanking was the smartest decision for the Fever. Had the Fever missed out on the playoffs, and by the way, if the Fever were going to fall out of the playoffs if Odyssey Sims didn't hit that game winner, if the Fever had tanked, they would have the 4th pick in this draft. They would have the 4th pick. So you're potentially looking at Awafam. You're looking at maybe AZ. No, AZ's not going to drop to 4. But you're looking potentially at Awafam. You're looking at, if you think Aaliyah Boston's been able to translate to the 5. I was about to say Lauren Betts, but like, Betts is the worst pick and roll ball handler or pick and roll player I've ever seen. Lauren Betts would not have fit. You've still got a dominant bench center in Lauren Betts. You have these players that are like, could come good and could be effective, and it's like at 10, you're praying Kiki Rice falls. I don't see them taking Gabriela Jaquez. Like, if you're gonna get Jaquez, she's cooled off. Maybe Gianna Neepkins is there. Raven Johnson might be there, but I'm like, the gap, it is pretty big. Maybe Latson's there and you want to just say, fuck it, we'll take Latson, play a year of Kelsey Mitchell, and have Latson come in there as a Kelsey Mitchell equivalent with a jump shot. I don't know. But it's a really, really tricky situation now for the Fever to get by this. And Caitlyn Clark's confirmed contract for this year at $527K isn't that bad. It's not going to kill them. But like, the expectation is that Lexi's probably making that money. Sophie's probably going to make it around then. And I still do think they'll take team-friendly contracts. But it's really hard to find role players like them. It really is. Especially because the Fever's scouting team don't go overseas. If they were looking overseas, okay, maybe. Maybe you could try, if you can try to convince players to come over. I just don't see them being able to do it. But anyway, I'll see you guys.